Hi everyone, welcome to Living La Vita Local Podcast, a retro gaming podcast for some of your retro gaming needs. My name is Faz.
And I'm Rich.
And this is the last podcast we will be recording before Rich and Fiona of this podcast homestead are flying off to Japan for several weeks to have, what sounds like an incredible time.
Hopefully so. Please don't rob me, internet.
Oh, yeah. We've done this before, haven't we?
It was like, don't mention it.
No, it's fine, yeah. Okay, sorry. Well, yeah, we'll try not to get you robbed this time.
Thanks.
It's okay, they'll only come round and find those crocodiles. Like those crocodile sweets from last week. That's all that's left. I went to the IMAX today in the National Media Museum.
As you do.
Yeah. Have you been to that before in Bradford?
Did they have a gaming exhibit when I was there? Maybe. Maybe not. No,
Have you been with the IMAX screen?
Not been to the IMAX, no.
So it is... All cinemas seem to have an IMAX now. But the screening that I've been there once before, and I forgot. It's not just double the width; it's double the height. It is honestly, the height of this thing is ridiculous. And I saw it was called Journey. It was a Journey to Space. I think, and Patrick Stewart was doing it today, and it was absolutely incredible. I cannot recommend this enough. This 45-minute documentary about the sort of first half is kind of dedicated towards the space shuttle program, and then it evolves into what's happening with Orion and all of the astronauts now, and it was amazing. It was so good. I'm not trying to sound pathetic or anything, but I was moved by it. It was so good. And I just came out. I was like, I really want to be an astronaut. It just came out like this 37-year-old man. He's got broken hips. I'm just like, can I go to space, please? But speaking of which, with the Media Museum, it was there is. I think I mentioned this before, maybe to you, but there's quite a few gaming sections in the Media Museum, which is great to see. And one of them is now, at the moment, I think it's just a sort of temporary exhibit, is local schools in Bradford have been coding to make video games, You can play them, and some of them are really quite good. Nice. I haven't brought any of those from a free play fortnightly, but I just sort of mentioned that the Media Museum at the moment it's had a revamp recently. It's got the wrong trousers on the wall with Feathers McGraw sat on it, and that's just like the best thing ever. They are so cool. But yeah, if anyone does live locally to the area or wants to travel across, I can't recommend it enough. But definitely taking an IMAX film if you can as well. Nice. That was my day. You didn't ask, but I told.
No, that's fine.
But yeah, back to tonight then. We are they were my travels. But we are going to do a free play fortnightly. So if you don't know what that is because you've not listened to the podcast before, but you're interested in seeing what we've played this week, we both play a game. We keep it secret from each other. We then review said game, and our co-host will then score the game based on our review, and we hope that the score sits in line with the score that we had in our head. All good?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Who went first last time?
You know what? I honestly can't remember.
I'll go first.
Yeah. I will just get the score spreadsheet up to make this official.
Yeah.
Right. I declare these proceedings open.
So tied to that score spreadsheet now, Rich. Come on now. Okay. The reason I want to go first is because I want to. So I have played a contemporary game, really, a metroidvania that has got a sequel floating around at the moment.
Right.
Which game do you think it is?
Hollow Knight?
Oh, lured you in. I got you in with hook, line and sinker.
I've been lampooned.
Yeah, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. So Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown has a sequel kind of floating around at the moment called The Rogue, which is a roguelite, which is in early access, and it's out on PS Plus and also Xbox Game Pass. I gave it a little go last night. It's definitely in early access, would be what I would say. It isn't quite the Hades killer that I think they would like it to be. It was all right, though, and you can see where they're going with it.
Right.
But what I have been playing is Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown.
Right.
And this came up on PS Plus, and it's on Ubisoft Plus. So you get that with the premium version of PS Plus, and you can pay for it separately as well if you've got an Xbox. So it's I played this on PlayStation 4. It seems to receive really good reviews, but it's failed to meet the sales expectations of what Ubisoft wanted out of it. It's developed by Ubisoft Montpellier. The prices on this recently, outside of the paid for services, seem to have tanked. So about 3 or 4 weeks ago, if you had your eye out quick enough, you could get the Switch version for £7 in Argos. It sold out. It sold out extremely quickly.
Yeah.
For a game that came out January 2024, and garnered quite good reviews, I was like, "What's going on here? Like, so weird. It's like they're trying to fire sale it but then also, like, they're not happy about what the sales expectations were, even though." When you look into what those expectations were, it sold really rather well. It just wasn't as well as they expected it to be. So yeah, that's odd. And I looked in CEX today, and you can, I guess, that's probably leveled out from the £7, and actually you can get £15 on the Switch. So again, that's still quite very reasonable. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and I think that if you look around now, £15 is about the average price of what it is. And I will tell you today whether or not you should pay that £15.
Thank you, Paz.
in this May just gone, it's interesting that the official account tweeted there was well over 2 million players. You revived the legend. The prince is back and he's just warming up. Although Ubisoft disbanded the development team into other projects about a month before that,
right?
And I don't know. I've not had time to research who's been making the Rogue one, but it's definitely not like Ubisoft Montpellier. It's like another team. It's just really strange that Ubisoft thought that they would have these super high expectations for sales on a game franchise that's been dormant for 13 years. It's the longest time there hasn't been a Prince of Persia game since Prince of Persia. Since the original Prince of Persia, which is it's just in that interesting. Maybe it isn't.
It is, but like Ubisoft doing Ubisoft things, isn't it? Like if it's not open world and they can just basically get all of the icons in a bucket and just like shake it and throw it and go and do the same task in 17 different locations. I mean, call me cynical, but like, it struck me as this being kind of the only major thing they had done for quite a while that deviated from.
That doesn't do that, basically.
Yeah. And like, I'm sure that's a gross overgeneralization, but like, I got the feeling that this seemed to be something someone in that company was pinning quite a lot of hopes on for doing stuff a little bit different again. Yeah,
maybe. And it does do stuff different. You are right in saying that. So it's a 2.5D ish, whatever that might be.
2.6.
Whatever dimension we are around. Action adventure game. But it's platforming. But the most interesting part is the Metroidvania thing. So I'm gonna put my cards on the table. I've never played a full Prince of Persia game all the way through. I played Sands of Time quite a lot on the PS2, but I never finished it. I don't really remember how much of it. I probably played about half of it, I think. I don't know why I put it down, but I've never played any of the original games or anything. Whilst a lot of the games seem to be around platforming, certainly Sands of Time and what I've researched around the different games, and all seem quite well received almost in a way. This, I think, is the first one where you kind of get that true Metroidvania gameplay. Again, I'm not really super... that's the wrong sentence to use. Not into Metroidvanias, but I've never played that many, really. Yeah. Obviously, you have Castlevania Symphony of the Night as your best game ever made.
I have Castlevania Symphony of the Nightitis.
So I'm hoping this will speak to you in a way. So what should I tell you first? How about gameplay then? Story. We'll start with story. So you are a chap called Sargon, and you are not the titular prince in this version. You are somebody who is chasing along to try and aid the prince who has been kidnapped. You're introduced as effectively almost like, I think you call the Seven Immortals, which is just basically like an ancient Avengers, a part of this sort of like Persian team, if you will. And you achieve a great victory over, I think they're called the Kush, and they are attacking Persia, but you achieve this victory during the tutorial. which teaches you how to fight. It's really quite funny where you get that juxtaposition of, oh, you're doing a tutorial that you don't know how to use the buttons, but you're like, you are achieving this mammoth victory over this.
By the way, you've just won the war.
It's so weird because then you kind of seem to become so underpowered immediately. It's just like, oh, now you're in control and you're a fucking bumbling idiot. But you basically the Crown Prince is very, very quickly kidnapped by your teammate / mentor, which feels like a twist, but it's not. It's so early on in the game. It's the very first 5 minutes, so you're not. I'm not spoiling anything there. You and the rest of the team follow your mentor to Mount. It's Queef.
Mount Queef. Really?
QUF. It may well be. Yes.
Right.
Anyway, so it's a legendary and a really freaky mountain. Sort of like
is that the official term?
A really freaky mountain. Where there's some crazy mystical timey-wimey bullshit going on.
You don't write many tourist information guides, do you?
So, what's the place called at the end of Indiana Jones where you get the Canyon of the Crescent Moon, but the actual real place in real life of the temple that's carved to the rock? Kind of like one of those places,
right?
just give you the setting.
Okay,
that's where it feels like it's going to be. All isn't straightforward. So you go in there as this sort of all-conquering team, and you think, all right, well, why has my mentor stolen the prince, and and what's going on? And then you get in there, and you're like, everything immediately starts to be a bit weird. Time starts being distorted. You kind of get these sort of zombie enemies coming back to life, these ghosts and stuff. So how is Sargon, the main character here that you are playing, how does he combat this? So you get into the gameplay. So he can jump, he can slide, he can air dash, basically. So you kind of do a bit of a sort of air sprint, if you will. And you do lots of platforming. There's not much, I don't think there's any running on walls necessarily. But there's a lot of combat, basically. And you are exploring this temple mountain, and as you do with Metroidvanias, parts of it are locked off until you learn certain powers that then unlock those parts. The way that happens is, I guess they're through these sort of little time powers, so you don't really use them very often, but then they're bestowed upon you pretty much when you kill a boss, effectively. Right. Get past the boss, and then you get this extra special power that is different from all of the normal powers that you do your day-to-day life in the mountain that you spend doing. So, and it's great because I'd say the combat is quite basic, but it does so much with so little. So you get an attack, you get a parry, and then you've got this slide, like I say, and then you get these other attacks that are called special attacks, which build up something called Athra. And this Athra, basically, you build up through fighting well, basically. That is so you parry in the right way, and therefore that will build up your Athra, and then you get to a certain point where this bar fills up at the bottom, and then once that's filled up, you
are arthritic.
Yeah. I see. And yeah, so basically, through successful evading and combos and things, that bar builds up, and then you get a special attack, effectively. Right. They are so important to have to be able to take down bosses. And until you would learn that, I think that me being a very stupid gamer, I was like, why am I not doing very well at the start here? And it's like, oh wait, I need to actually learn how to play the game properly and parry at the right time. It has a really cool mechanic where if an enemy is coming at you and they have a red glow on them, you cannot avoid that attack. So you can't fight against that attack. You cannot parry it. So basically you need to evade it.
Right.
If they are attacking you and it's a yellow glow, you have to parry it. If you parry it, then in a normal battle, if you will, against grunts, then they will recoil from that, and you can then dispatch of them, and that will also build up your Athra as well. So it's double fold, double jeopardy. You do great, if you work out that timing wise. It's not easy to start off with to work out timing wise. It's very inch perfect, I would say. That is so if you parry too early or too late, it doesn't work. And actually, there is there's I guess a punishment, if you will, really, where you seem to lose more life if you miss a parry that you're meant to get.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so it's quite good that in so much that it's like, it does rub your nose in the dog dirt if you're like, no, you did a shit job there. You're like, oh, right, okay, thank you. Yeah, I can see that now. In the boss battles, there are almost set pieces, if you will, where it comes to a very telegraph parry in the same fashion. So say a giant crow like sort of thing will swoop down, and fine well, and you parry that. It then introduces a little cutscene where you then do this mega parry, if you will, like, as in you're like you're really like fuck off, like, and send it back, and then it gives you the opportunity to attack, and that's when you need to build up your special attacks, because if you don't have those available to you at that time, you're really going to struggle. Like, as in the boss battles are so fucking good. Like, as in, like, they feel so well weighted. The game seems to know when it's time for you to crack that boss. Is it 40 times in? Maybe. It certainly was with me. Like, and I'd be there maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, knowing I'm making these tiny little steps forward to beat this boss, and knowing that it will happen at some point, but it's just kicking my ass, and then the breakthrough, and oh god, I felt like an absolute just heavenly god, like, when I beat some of these bosses. Like, it was just enough to be on the side of frustrating, like, as in just to be like, like, yeah, there might be some people put it down and go, oh, that's too much for me. I was just like, oh, that is perfect. That is just like, you just owned me for so long, and I've just beaten you at like midnight, and I'm there just throwing the controller down, just enjoy, just like, yeah, come at me, bro. Yeah, so that's brilliant. That's such a good point in this game. There's some the abilities that you gain, these time abilities that I said that you kind of pick up after you beat a boss. I used really to kind of overcome challenges. So as part of this game, you've got the platform, but you've also got some puzzling as well. So I'm thinking back to a specific example where you have to go into this room, but you have to conquer 4 rooms beforehand that are almost time challenges. And the only way that you can do that is with this freeze ability. So basically it will say, run this gauntlet 3 times. And the very first time you get up to 75% of the way through this room, create a freeze point. And then the second time when you come back in, you basically press the L1 button, and that takes you up to the freeze point. So you're halfway through the challenge already. So it's almost like it's a really clever way of giving you a difficult challenge within a room, but also using the time abilities to make sure you can do that. So I'm trying to think, I'd probably not explain that very well. There might be an amulet piece that you need, which I'll come back to in a second, hidden behind a jail cell, but there's a very specific route to get into that jail cell. And then you might get inside that jail cell, and a door might flip underneath that jail cell that will prevent you from going any further. But what you had to have done previously was realise that, left yourself a freeze point on the other side of that door before it happened. So it's almost, again, that learning process of you have to do it 5, 6, 7 times before you realise, right, that's what I need to do next time. All of the platforming and the combat is just bob on. Like, as in it feels so super competent. Like, as in I can't believe how well they've made this. In terms of that day-to-day living within sort of, you do some platforming, then you do some combat, which is very basic, but they've just done such a good job of bringing that together. The story, it's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, I don't think that's necessarily what's driving me. Right. Like, it's almost like just me personally wanting to get to the next room to see, like, just because I want to play more of the game.
What trouble can I get into next?
I just want to play more of this game because it's so fucking good. Like, the thing that I was super impressed by was the metroidvania-esque part of it. Unlocking parts of this temple as you go, you don't realise as you're blasting past things that you're going to come back to it, like, as in, and get that sort of like that power that you need, that you never knew you were going to need to get up that room, that actually you didn't you knew it was there, but you're like, that's probably just, I know I'm going to get back there at some point. But all these little invisible walls that they keep from you, they're so natural. Like, as in, I've never played Metroid. Everyone was like Super Metroid or anything, so I don't know how natural it feels within that. I guess so. If it's it's made its own genre, that it must be pretty fucking cool. But like, I've just never been in a maze like this in a game before, and felt so glad to be lost. Do you know what I mean? Like, as if just knowing that there will be a way to get around here, and because you've got that super competent platforming that they've clearly worked on for years, like, to fall through lots of buzzsaws and lots of different traps coming at you and stuff. But once if you went into it blind, like, you'd be like, oh, this is so fucking difficult. But after I've played this for 20 hours and I am Sargon, I am, this, I am this combat fucking Avenger, like, is in from Persia, from ancient times and stuff. You just know how everything clicks into place, and that's not just because you, the player, becomes a good gamer overnight or whatever. They just tease it out of you. They just tease like this thing out of you, and I was just back for more every night, back for more. That is, it's just so good. This cycle of learning how to unlock this temple. The bosses, like I said, that are just like punch drunk a little bit with this game in a way. Like, as in, it wasn't like the most perfect game, but yeah, just so much variety to it. That is, I think that, like I said, the story kind of pulls back from it a little bit, and there's a few things where there's a boss battle called the Jailer, and you get put in this room, and this Jailer, basically, I'm trying to think of the mechanic that he has. Basically, he can't be hit by you effectively, like, right, at this point. You have to kind of take care of his minions first and stuff, and then you get this time ability to basically go into another dimension, and you can only hit him when he's in that dimension, right, but you've still got to deal with him all the rest of the time as well. And it's overbearing. It's aggressive because you've got all these different enemies coming at you at the exact same time. And I'm not saying the game breaks or anything, but it's just like when there are multiple enemies, a lot of enemies, I don't think it's as well weighted as it should be, right, compared to the rest of the time. That is in, so if you're fighting 2 or 3 enemies, it's absolutely fine. But when there's sort of 7 or 8 or something, and they're all, and you've got the extra part of being into another dimension to beat the boss who's kicking your ass over here as well, that's like, whoa, what that, like, what have I stepped into in this room? Yeah. Even when you're sort of 18, 19 hours in and stuff, and you kind of think you've got a grasp of the game, like, there was definitely a weird logic that I felt like just kind of, I don't want to call it a difficulty spike either. It just felt like I felt like they put 1 or 2 people too many in a room sometimes, and you were like, that's kind of taking it out of me. I felt like I could handle this, or I could at least have my ass kicked a few times and then handle it. Yeah. And then there was this boss battle where I was like, fuck, like, what? Like, sorry, like, I didn't even mean to walk into this room right now. And then it's just like, and then I thought, have I come in too early? And I was like, and then I looked into a walkthrough, and I was like, no, you're here at the right time. This is the time you're meant to be in this room. Like, you've got all the abilities you need. There's other things where you, a bit like Hades, and so it's not the rogue game like Hades, but you pick up amulets where you basically get different, like, little abilities that kind of, like, it'll add, you get an extra life, that is in, or you might get an extra portion every single time you go past a certain place and stuff. So there are ways that you can add and go back to these trees, which basically are your save points effectively. They fill your health back up. They're wonderful. You can change all your amulets. Beautiful place to be. And you can tinker with how you maybe will enter the boss battle again. So you might get an extra 10% on your power-ups, and little things where you can kind of say to yourself, actually, maybe I'm not approaching this the right way. Maybe I need to be more aggressive or more defensive here, and maybe I need a different part of the amulet and things. So that is some way that you can negate these things.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. And so it's not like the boons in Hades that are random and you build them up. These are like targeted. You can take your time to think about how you want them. Like, there was one specific boss where I was like, I know I need to have this extra life sort of like boost, because I'm getting to a point where I'm like almost beating it, but if I don't have this much health in place for this attack that it's doing, where actually it's completely unavoidable, you can't do anything about it, like, as in, then there'd be no way of doing this. Yeah. So it's like you're almost forced into having that part of your amulet. But apart from that, when I was saying about having lots of different types of enemies kind of coming at you, and the story not being necessarily as exciting as I wanted it to be, the addiction to this game, the exploration, and how they just add bits on every single time. And I know you're probably about to say, well, every Metroidvania is like this, but I guess maybe this is my one. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just the way that they add to you as you go to give you those powers. That's the Metroidvania kind of part of it, where you're like. But the thing I was most impressed with was almost like how it seemed to level with me, or how I leveled with it, almost even outside of that constraints as well. It was almost like the amount of time you spent with the game. It's like it knew that was the right amount of time that you spent with the game, when you were kind of like, it was like the gamer has now got to the point where like I can reach outside, break the fourth wall, and go, right, okay, you're ready now. Come on, like, and I just felt that synchronicity, with it. It just it was great. Just a couple of issues, but apart from that, I think this is one of my favorite games of the last couple of years. Like, nice. I really do, and I cannot recommend people go and play it enough. Like, as in, especially at the price of £15, for example. Like, it's about 25 hours long, I'd say. So it's not even like crazy. You do kind of. I never any point really felt like I fell into a lull either. Like, as in, like, I just think it could do a bit of a stronger story just to keep you like completely tip top, like the best of the best games and stuff. But in terms of gameplay and how tight it is, it's so good. That's me.
Right. So you're going to want to score then, aren't you?
I do.
I think I'm going to stick it in 9. 9 out of 10.
Excellent. I had it. So I had it as an 8 and then I played another 10 hours of it, and I was like, this is so a 9, like, and I was like, and then I was like, is this a 10? And then I was like, it wasn't. There is a couple of bits where I'm like, if this was made by somebody other than Ubisoft, it could probably get to a 10, if that makes sense. Almost in a way, is what I feel about it.
They should be applauded for doing something different.
But at the same time, fuck, this is so good. Like, and that, so I had a 9 in my head, so I'm glad that you gave it that, because cool. I think it definitely deserves that. It almost has a bit of an Arkham Asylum battle combat sort of situation with it. I think you'd love it. I think you'd really like it, which is interesting, because every time that happens, you'd be like, no, not really. But therefore, I would be interested in what you think of it.
Duly noted.
Fun. Cool. Hit me.
Right.
And I'll parry you. Perfect timing.
I mean, seeing as we are talking about walking around punching things and generally getting into combat, I present for your consideration the Kung Fu.
The Kung Fu.
The Kung Fu. So we are over on the, I can't even remember what they call it, PC Engine Mini, I guess.
Yeah, cool.
So this is a 1987 game from Hudson.
Nice.
In which, like, as best I can tell, there's no options or anything like that in this game. You press run and it runs. You're definitely not Bruce Lee, but you definitely look like you could be related to Bruce Lee.
Lee Bruce.
I think the thing that struck me about this first was just how big the player sprite is.
Okay.
I kid you not, it stands about half the screen tall, right? He automatically walks to the right.
Oh, okay.
You can jump, you can crouch, you can speed him up slightly, but you will never get further than halfway across the screen, or you can kind of hang back a little bit. So the upshot of this is that it kind of feels like you're only working with about a quarter of the screen, weirdly. You can punch, you can kick. If you're crouching, you can punch, but you can't kick. And if you jump, you can kick, but you can't punch.
Okay.
As best I can tell, right? I
could punch it.
I could be a little bit wrong. And then you strut to the right, for it is a strut.
Yeah.
And you kick and punch things.
Okay.
So those things.
What?
Yeah, those things that you will kick and punch. You'll have such things as in fact, I don't think you can kick or punch them. You'll have rocks rolling along the floor. You have to jump over.
You've got to watch out for
Got to watch out for rolling rocks.
Watch over them.
You'll have little rocks that are thrown across the screen in different arcs.
By somebody?
I don't know.
Oh, right, you don't know. You don't
know. They just yeet across the screen. You can punch them. Sticks. Sticks will be thrown at you. I assume thrown.
The fifth element's coming at you.
Bugs. Fireballs. Little ones. Considering the size of the player sprite, the fireballs don't look like they would be that damaging. Really.
Nothing. Just singe a nipple.
They're sort of about the same height for him as between his sort of mouth and his chin, nose and his chin. They're not big, right? as fireballs go, I've seen more intimidating ones.
I glazed over during that fireball conversation from the start to the finish of that 10 seconds. I was like, "What's happening?"
I wouldn't worry. But you do have some enemies in this.
Okay. So they do turn up. The rock throwers do turn
eventually. Up. Well, I don't know. You never see them throwing anything.
Yeah. So you're not even sure if they're an enemy, really. They're
not really.
They're just general people.
So you have people in black robes walking at you.
They feel like they feel like they might be dangerous.
Well, they just walk at you.
Oh,
and they damage
you.
Are
they monks? They might monks in the head.
They don't attack you, but they do damage if they collide with you. So it's almost like the way I was reading it. So you start out in like a nice bay, right? And you walk along, and you get these monks walking at you. I felt more like I was on a busy commute, and people were just in my way. So it felt more like, actually, somebody needs to reskin this as like commuter simulator.
Yeah, nice.
And like, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Because they seem to just sort of walk into you, and you have a kind of damage animation type thing going on, which isn't much of an animation, but you flicker a bit, they disappear, whatever. Eventually, you do come across and this isn't even in the first couple of levels. I had to watch YouTube to find out that eventually you come across dudes that are in green robes.
Oh. They
crouch. They walk up to you, and then at the middle of the screen they crouch. I can't tell if they do anything else. And you kind of get to the end of the level, and at least for the first levels, you'll come across a boss that's like this kind of big, burly, like classically American military type, commando type dude. Mm-hmm. And you have a bit of a fight. He does some actual moves that you can kind of, I guess, counter by sort of stepping away a bit and then stepping forward and punching him.
Yeah.
You can block by holding down punch and stuff like that. And I think you can possibly block some kicks by kicking. But it crisp combat, it ain't. Okay. Right? Crunchy, satisfying combat, it ain't. So all the stuff that you were saying about Prince of Persia just now does not apply. You just sort of flail at each other a little bit. You've got a bunch of hit points to start with. There's a pickup of some description that you can get that gives you a little boost of a few hit points. That's kind of it. So
I was on a real high leaving the Prince of Persia review. I want you to know that.
I know. So there are a couple of other little bits to note with this. There is a bit of input lag on the PC Engine Mini, so I don't think that helped me when it came to the feel of the combat and all that kind of stuff. When you look at the thing that I was thinking of when I was playing this was Double Dragon on the NES.
Okay.
And as a sort of beat 'em up side-scrolling type deal.
Yeah, but that's good.
Right. How satisfying that is, yeah. Or River City Ransom and those sorts of things. And how satisfying and crunchy you can make combat from a console of that era. If you really tried, this just wasn't hitting right, I guess, for me. So yeah, I confess I didn't play much of it because I didn't like it.
Yeah,
frankly.
Yeah. Got that.
But it does, and I can't emphasize this enough, does look really, really genuinely impressive.
Okay.
For 1987, it looks great. It doesn't move particularly great. It looks great. So when I was playing it, I basically boiled down to, is this worse or better than Sword of Sedan? Like, am I on a collision course with a -1 game here? Like, is that actually possible? And I don't think I am, but by crikey, it's close. You know?
Wow.
And I looked on YouTube in the end because I was just getting so wound up with like barely even being able to get past like I got into the sort of second set of levels, right? Yeah. And there's kind of 4 sets, and there's a playthrough on YouTube that isn't like a speed run, mainly because he walks at the same fucking speed anyway all the time. But like it's 20 minutes long.
Oh right.
So like
really?
once you've learnt the game,
20 minutes,
and you're on it, it's a 20-minute game. Which again, like 1987, limited storage, the way it looks, all that. Like I get why that is the case, but like, jeez, like, and I think if it wasn't a launch game for the PC Engine, it was close.
Yeah.
So definitely an early one. So you've got to give it some kudos for that and some leeway for that, especially with how it looks. And you know, you finish the first stage, and the sun starts going down on the bay, and
classic.
It is a classic, and it does look good. But my God, it makes fireballs hard to see, and like those tiny rocks are bloody impossible to pick out. And then the sun finally goes down, and it's all dark and all that kind of stuff. And you move on. Like later levels will be in like a more sort of classically Asian kung fu style settings and things like that. So like, it looks the part, but like, it's just as a sort of side-scrolling beat 'em up endeavor.
Yeah,
it just falls so flat. It's like so unbelievably flat.
What's the soundtrack like?
The soundtrack's not awful.
Yeah.
And I wondered if you were going to ask about that. Like the tune plays on a bit of a loop, right? Okay. And it does get a little bit repetitive, but it's not so bad that you're muting the telly or anything like that. However, I was playing this last night, and as I sit here right now, I can't remember how that tune went, but I don't remember hating it.
Yeah. Right?
So it's not like it sounds awful, or like, I think with Sword of Sedan, like some of the sound effects were like genuinely a bit grating and a bit awful and all that kind of stuff. It's not like that. So yeah, in the sound, on the sound side of things, it's an improvement. Yeah. But I kind of have it mentally filed away under functional rather than great, or anything like that. I think sound and looks are definitely where the emphasis went with when they were making this. But yeah, playing it as a side-scrolling beat 'em up, it's not a great experience.
Okay, I have so few questions about this game. It feels like you've just answered pretty much everything.
I mean, I do have one other note actually that I probably should mention. I've just spotted it. Can play for score, I guess. Like it does keep track of your score, but it's basically like 100 points for a thing you've just punched out of existence.
What's the general? And this doesn't play into my scoring or anything, but I'm just intrigued because I don't know what else to ask. Like, what's the general consensus on this game that is in from what you could?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you're not? No.
No.
I just didn't know if you knew or not. Like, it was like a well-known clanger or a well-known game, and you're like,
I honestly don't know, because I don't like to look those things up before I come in and try and talk about it, because I try not to like be too influenced by that sort of thing. So I make a point of actively avoiding checking those things.
The influence for you would be you would rail against whatever it was anyway.
That is exactly my point.
What do you mean popular belief? My ass.
But that is exactly my point. So I am exactly as cantankerous as I need to be in a given moment. But like, yeah, it's one of those things that I could see how, say, in fact, like you were saying in that episode recently about your PSP, you got it on launch day, you've picked out your games, you kind of have that nostalgic connection with that thing you've got on day one. I could imagine if you were in a position like that with a PC Engine and this was what you ended up with, I could totally imagine that you would have an absolute soft spot for it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not unplayable.
Okay.
But as somebody going in 2025 with no nostalgia for it, for the first time, having played things like Streets of Rage, let's go for an easy example, it's very difficult to get into. It's very difficult to appreciate beyond the looks.
So that's the thing, isn't it? Like when you've thrown around game names such as Streets of Rage and River City Ransom and Double Dragon and stuff, yeah, it can only be in the lower echelons of everything. What have we got down in the bottom? Because it feels like it doesn't feel like it was as bad as Beast Wrestler last year. But I don't know.
So hang on, because I was just about to check something else first. Let me just, because I've got a quiet little bet with myself. So please hold the line. Right. So River City Ransom came out in 1989. So 2 years later, possibly bear that in mind.
Yeah.
So down at the bottom, this is just for this is this year's one, isn't it? Yeah. Sword of Sedan.
Yeah.
On 0.
Gave that a 0. Literally. Like whenever we give these scores out, we sort of say, "Oh, anything over 5 is recommendation," and then people, you could say like 0, like as in, I guess 0 is you detract from the world by existing, probably, like as in you use up oxygen that you shouldn't be using up.
Genuinely think Sword of Sedan might be possibly one of, if not the worst game I've ever played ever.
Yeah,
ever. I don't think this was as aggressively bad. I think this is. How can I put this? Like, I think it's more of a victim of its time and the limitations placed upon it versus the kind of ambition that the developers had for making it look as good as they could. Yeah. If they had made, say, the player sprite and the enemy sprites a little bit smaller...
Giant man versus tiny fireballs.
I think they could have done some interesting stuff with the combat. And obviously, like PC Engine, I say obviously... The PC Engine had 2 buttons, like the NES. Like, you are going to be limited with what you can do, right? There's only so many things you can do with it. But even still, my point is that with things like Double Dragon, River City Ransom, etc., there were developers that made it work.
Yeah, it's not as if there's not games from that era ish.
Yeah, that did similar, but better. So down at 1 out of 10, we've got Fantavision, Pimp My Ride, and Dave Mirra's Door Handle on the PSP.
Okay, fair enough.
2, Chase the Express.
Okay, well we don't need to go any higher. I don't think. I think it's in that ballpark. I'm gonna go for a 1. I want to spoon something into 2 out of 10 to have Chase the Express have something to fight against at the end of the year, but. I don't think that sounds like this game. It sounds like, I'm going to be honest, it sounds like it has as much personality as Dave Mirra's Door Handle.
I mean, personally, I was going to give it 2.
Okay.
I was going to give it 2. Okay. Because, like, I don't think it's, like, there's aggressively bad and there's hamstrung by its own, like, design. And I just think the emphasis was put in the wrong place. Like, if you went and looked at some stills of this online, I think you would be able to look at it and go like, holy shit, that's from 1987. Damn, that looks good. But then you play it and you're like, oh, it's from 1987. Yeah.
Right, okay. No, that's not... Just put it in 1 for now. And I know it would be a lot easier for us to just put it into 2.
It would.
But we might find another 2 before the end of the year.
We might.
I think Chase the Express sounds better than that game.
That's fair enough.
But then the scoring system doesn't work like that because we can fucking just do it all. But currently, like as in, Chase Express is shit. But I still think it's got more than the Kung Fu has in its pockets. It's what I would say.
That is fair enough.
So there we go. We'll go with that. Okay, right. I don't know how to end. Combat. We had fights. There was, I don't know. Go play Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. It's really, really good. Like, I can't recommend, even from a retro game point of view. That isn't, and I don't hold off playing the Rogue if you haven't played The Lost Crown just because it's free on free services, because that might put you off playing The Lost Crown. Don't let that happen. It's what I'd say. That's my only note to finish on. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Bye bye.